Hi, my name is Saraswati Kabula and I'm a documentary filmmaker and an activist based out of Hyderabad. I had recently made a documentary called Decode Vaccines, which is a two-part series that looks at vaccinations and their impacts and their pros and cons. And I myself had been following naturopathy for a long time. Despite that, I always thought that vaccines were required because for childhood immunity boosting and things like that. It was not, and even until the time that I started this documentary, I would feel that even though we may do without the other vaccines, like whether it is a BCG or diphtheria, because naturopathy has shown that these particular diseases, even in children and infants, can easily be cured. I always thought that polio was a necessity, polio drops were a necessity. But after having gone through the entire process of making this documentary, Decode Vaccines, since 2019 till about June 2020, I realized that vaccines are a big hoax. Of course, there are many people who may not agree to this. I would really urge you to go through the documentary because it's almost like a 2.5 hour long two-part series that looks at all the aspects of what vaccines are about. I mean, there are doctors and scientists who are talking about it. Unfortunately, the way the pharma industry has been controlling the entire debate about whether it is vaccines or allopathy or anything else, they have not allowed a lot of these doctors, researchers to come out in the mainstream media. And a lot of times doctors have been hounded, their careers have been totally destroyed, or their studies have not been published at all. And the pattern is very, very common. I'll just give one simple example. I first came across the impacts of vaccines and what is their adverse effects in 2006 when I was introduced to the issue of the presence of mercury, thimerosal, in vaccines by Dr. Praveen Saxena, who stays in Hyderabad. And its probable relation to autism, because mercury is a known neurotoxin. We know that mercury is a known neurotoxin, and yet it is being administered. And at that time, in fact, children were being given hepatitis B. And like most people, even I thought that hepatitis B was a vaccine for jaundice, but it is not. Hepatitis B is actually a sexually transmitted disease that might come after teens or whenever. And the efficacy of the vaccine may be about 6 to 7 years. And this vaccine was being given to a newborn child. So people are not understanding. I mean, when people were questioning what is the logic of giving this particular vaccine to infants, there is no answer to that. This being a very short video with a very little time, I will just give one small example of how FDA itself, when you go to the FDA website, you will find that the maximum permissible limit of aluminum in a injectable form, in any injectable drugs is 25 mcg per liter. Now, an average child in the United States by the age of 15 months gets close to 4050 mcg of aluminum through vaccinations. So we can imagine how high the dosage of aluminum which is being given to children through vaccines. Vaccines contain aluminum, vaccines contain mercury, vaccines contain a whole lot of genetic material that we would normally not inject. I mean, a lot of us are vegetarians. We don't know that they are using aborted calves, cattle, bovine serum. It is taken from aborted fetuses of the calf. I mean, the calf is actually, the cow is killed and the calf is taken out and its parts are used to make this bovine serum. The blood parts of the cow, the blood parts of the pig, the blood parts of monkey kidney cells are used. In fact, polio vaccine contains vero cells, which are a continuous cell lines that are that could be cancerous, that are there in the polio vaccines. Now, these are all recorded, they are there. You just go to the FDA's website, you go to the CDC, you go through the vaccine inserts, go through all the vaccine adverse effects which are listed by the companies themselves, and then we would know that we are just not being told the truth. And so there has to be a choice. The choice must be there for a person whether or not to take the vaccine. I mean, there may be people who still might want to take the vaccines despite everything else, but the choice is now being taken away, which I think is which is actually called breaking of the Nuremberg Code. And US is going in that direction of mandatory vaccination, where they're taking away all rights of the citizens to refuse a vaccine. And the same thing is happening in India right now. We are going in the direction, though the Supreme Court has given a direction that you cannot force vaccinate people, that they have their choices. It has happened in the Kerala High Court, and even the Supreme Court has upheld these kind of judgments. Unfortunately, the present government is going through this concept of vaccinating 130 crore population of this country with a totally untested new vaccine with a new technology called mRNA vaccine. We don't know what its impacts are going to be, and they are saying that people may not have a choice. And I think it's high time that people in India wake up to this fact, and a lot of our own children are becoming autistic, they are having adverse effects, there are cancers increasing. We need to have a debate. I'm not saying that just trust me for what I'm saying, but please go through the research, do your own research, and find out and figure out what is happening with the whole vaccine issue. And let's also try to understand that the entire medical dialogue is being controlled by the pharma mafia. And with this, I hope that there is going to be a continuity in this debate, and I'm grateful for this opportunity to Awake India organizers for giving me this opportunity to speak.